While others celebrate the wins,
Yes.
We celebrate the mud.
each episode has a special guest.
Tony-nominated actress, Broadway's Lily Cooper.
Tashir Zameda.
David A. Gregory.
Getting messy with muddy topics.
We are going to be talking about grief journey.
With hilarious moments
Now get over here.
And deep conversations.
I'm ashamed to even admit this, but this is what happened.
This is Into the Mud.
Hey everybody.
Hi.
Welcome back to Into the Mud podcast.
Yes, we're trying out new microphones today.
We have
So
these
exciting.
chubby little Shure microphones. So we're excited to,
We're experimenting with something new. We're
experimenting.
very excited.
yeah.
Drew cannot figure out how to hold this thing.
It feels so foreign to me because we're used to having
Shouldn't.
lavalier mics. Oh, honey. Not this thick. Certainly.
Real? All right.
God, I hope
Surprises me.
Anyway. So here we are with these new microphones.
Yeah.
And oh my God, this is so strange. Now I have to get used to not moving my face away from the microphone.
Really.
Anyway,
Visual component of
I
that
don't
is
know why
perfect.
This is feeling so strange.
Well, it is. I mean, it feels natural to me just because this is this is where I live.
Oh, well, you're a stand-up.
Well, I'm a
comedian.
stand-up comedian.
Yeah, us
but
musical theater folk are very spoiled because we get our microphones usually attached to we just tape them on our forehead basically, or wear an ear rig, and then we never have to worry about it because the
Never have to
brilliant
think about
sound
it.
department
You
juggles
know,
everything for us.
when I used to teach stand-up, I would always tell them to just keep it right at their chin.
Right here.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
You can even rest it there if you want,
Oh, I don't know.
just to have a.
Well, let's.
We'll find out. We'll see what happens. If you lose Drew's audio halfway through the,
Sorry.
or if it starts to sound like
Yeah.
this.
Anyway.
Okay,
Okay, so
We're diving in.
we are doing another
Solito.
Solito episode. Is solito even a word?
Not even a word.
Just a little alone.
Just
little alone.
little tiny bit alone.
Little tiny bit alone.
Just a tiny solo.
And this time we're going to do a little bit differently. Instead of Drew and Alex are feeling the same thing, we're going to interview one another, which should be really fun.
Yeah.
So today is Alex's episode.
Yeah.
And I have prepared some questions, and I'm going to drill Alex on them.
I can't wait, drill.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, I'm going to drill you,
Drill.
Alex. Yeah.
Drill me.
Today's
Can't even say it
I know.
without vomiting.
Okay. So
Okay.
today's topic of conversation, Alex,
Yeah.
do you want to introduce her to me?
I'll introduce it. Because
Yeah. How are you feeling?
because I've been feeling the last couple months. I have been feeling a whole new level of fear and anxiety, and I guess we could call it a little depression. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a little seasonal depression.
Yep.
But I've been feeling this fear and anxiety that I've not felt in many, many years, and have felt like I've been plateauing, and I don't know how to get myself out of it, which is usually not the case. Usually I can pull myself out of one of these things or have some perspective. But this one has felt like I came to this realization that all the systems that have gotten me to this point in my life are just no longer working.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling like I have to not start over, but I'm at a bit of a crossroads, and it's panic inducing for me.
Okay, and this is surrounding personal, it's career, it's relationship. Where are you feeling plateaued?
Yeah, I think it's career-wise, but then of course, anytime that it gets really low, all the other stuff starts to come into of well, your career is not going right, and you're single, and you haven't decided if you want kids, and you're not in a place to buy property, and why isn't that
Yeah.
just everything starts to sort of tug at each other. And it's, while it is, we all know comparison is the thief of joy, and don't look at other people to figure out where you are in life. It is, for me, becoming impossible to not see social media or see where other people are in my life, regardless of what career they're in, and be like, oh my God, you figured it out. You figured it out, and I haven't figured it out, and we had the same tools, and we've had the same amount of time, and I haven't figured it out.
So what are you doing right that I'm not doing
What
right?
are you?
What am I doing
missing?
wrong?
What am I
am I
missing?
missing?
That's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a lot of I'm missing a key ingredient, and I feel like I've been sprinting, and I'm exhausted, and I have exhausted all of the energy that I have to get to where I am, and I'm still not like quite
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, what is it?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm at the what do I do point, and I don't think I've been there since I was like in college and depressed and lost as a human being.
Yeah.
So that's why, So that's where I'm at.
Well, that's a really tricky space to sit in life. And I think actually perfectly enough for this podcast, it's kind of a little bit of what I was feeling when we kind of came up with this concept together. It's this like in between. And you and I had that conversation during our brainstorming of who are we in this in between space where you're like,
Totally.
I've accomplished a certain amount of things, but I want to accomplish this other thing. And then now you feel like you're in the middle of this plateau drought and you're just
Totally.
aimlessly walking in certain directions. Not that you are, but that's the feeling of it. And you're just
It's
kind
the
of
feeling.
lost in the woods a little
And
bit.
it's and I think there's being lost in the woods, and I've been able to kind of like zoom out and be like, this is a necessary, careers go up and down. You're not going to have a peak at every moment. Like sometimes you have dips. I'm in a dip right now, but I feel like I've been in like a dip for a while, and I can't see where it starts to come back up.
Yeah.
And I don't, and it's like this like liminal space, this in between space. It's like, okay, I know that I'm in it and I know that I have to be in it, but where's the next space? Like
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next space.
Yeah. Well, because it feels redundant. You feel like you're just running on a treadmill and you're like, why am I exerting so much energy, but I haven't moved an inch forward?
Right.
But I think there's a big misconception about what it means to move forward with something.
Yes.
And what does it mean to be stuck behind? And we've talked a lot about growth. We've talked a lot about progress. And, we've had a few different analogies or metaphors. It's kind of like the stock market. It's like you go up a little bit and then you plummet, and then you go up a little more and then you plummet again. And then if you zoom out, really the stock market's it's actually progressing.
It's not a steady incline. It's
Yeah.
just
going up. Yeah.
yeah.
But it's hard to acknowledge that when you're in the thick of it.
Totally.
Because it's complicating, it's confusing, and then all of your doubts and all of your fears and all of your insecurities come like rushing back again.
Do you know what I have been remembering? And this is interesting because this came up during study abroad in Spain.
Ooh, talk to me.
So this was I remember, so I was there for the whole year. And I remember the second semester, I felt like I was regressing, which is where I feel right now.
Like your Spanish was getting worse.
I felt like my Spanish was getting worse.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't able to converse with people the way that I could even like 3 or 4 months prior. And I was like, how am I getting worse at this?
Yeah.
Even though there's no way I could be getting worse. And one of the professors there was like, you're not getting worse. You've moved into more difficult situations to communicate in.
Yes.
You're no longer asking people, where's the bathroom? You're asking people,
What's the meaning of life?
the meaning of life, and you're having to do that. And that's what it feels like right now, where
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I'm regressing in my career or in my ability to like write a joke, write something other than jokes, write a script, write a solo show. I feel like I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And then it's like, no, it's just you're being asked to do it at a higher level at this point.
Yeah.
And it's challenging me in a new way that's also making me think like, okay, so maybe I've just gotten a little comfortable in the place that I was, and I was shoved out of that comfort, and that's why I'm feeling this like kind of ickiness. I just feel unsure of myself. I've been feeling like a confidence crisis. Like I'm like,
Okay.
ooh, am I good at this?
hear that.
Is this what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be doing?
Are you feeling that way because of the lack of career validation? Is it because you're feeling a little stagnant at the Comedy Cellar, for instance? Or like, is it a combo of all of them? Let's right now, for just the sake of it, let's specifically talk career.
Yeah.
So
Career-wise, yeah. So career-wise, it's like I've feel like I've like established myself at the Comedy Cellar. I've established myself at a couple clubs here in New York, but I'm feeling like I'm not able to like turn over new material at the same rate that other comedians do.
Yeah.
And then I look at my social media. My social media has been kind of hovering around the same number, and then that makes me question. I'm like, is that because I'm not good at social media, or because the content I'm putting out isn't relating to people? And if that's the case, then do I have what it takes to keep moving through this career? Like I'm facing more of these like I think when I first moved to New York, it was like, oh, this is hard because I'm hustling and I'm trying to figure out a lot of stuff. Right now, it's the bigger questions of like, you need to do things differently if you want to keep moving through this. You need to try, like, what's the definition of insane is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Like and so I'm having to change my systems and having to be like, it doesn't work for you to run yourself to exhaustion every day, every week, every month. It doesn't work for you to put yourself on a rigid schedule. Like I'm looking at the things that I've done up until this point, and I'm like, this does not work, but I don't know what the new systems are. And I think that's like, as a type A, like pretty competent, confident person, that's shaking me. That I'm like, I don't know what the next step is. And I'm having trouble gaining perspective on this situation. And I'm having trouble, like, which is odd for me because I'm usually pretty good at, you know, the one benefit of having cancer all those times is like, I'm pretty good at being able to look at what really matters in life and being like, hey, don't sweat. Like, you will figure this out. Like, this isn't what it's all about.
Of course.
I'm having trouble finding that perspective right now.
Do you think it's because you are just out of habit and comfort doing the same things over and over again? Or is it because you're afraid of trying something new and taking a new step forward? Or is it pure blind ignorance? You just simply don't know what is next or how to do it?
I think it's a combination of those first two things. I think deep down, there's that thought of like, what if I really give it my all and that's not good enough? Like, what if I really, like, and I've not been giving it my all, but I'm like, what if I try this new approach?
Yeah.
Or what if I really like unlock something and I'm still here and I'm still in this place? Then what does that mean? Which, you know, of course, I'll never know until I try. And also just keep going. Like, I know I can like mentally get myself out of this by being like, just keep going. But it's like, I feel like I'm losing steam, like emotionally or like spiritually, if you will. Like I'm losing that, like that drive that I had because I'm like, this isn't working for me right now. And I don't know how to fix what's not working.
Well, that spark and the novelty of trying something new wears off eventually. But I'm sure you must have felt a certain degree of this when you were living in Chicago. You know, you kind of conquered the comedy scene in Chicago. You wanted a new challenge.
Yeah. And
it was either, do I go to LA? Do I go to New York? You came to New York, and then you had the excitement of trying a new city, meeting new people, being around new comics, being challenged by everybody else that's around you. It's just so fun, and that is deeply exciting and fulfilling.
Totally.
But then you eventually just you get back in the slog again.
Yeah.
And of the work.
Totally. I think that's with anything anyone ever has done ever.
Absolutely.
It's like you try something new, you're excited, you bring that energy. That's where I'm fine. I'm like, I'm not bringing the excited energy to the stage in a way that I used to. And I'm worried that I have like burnt that energy out. Like I'm scared. I can't find it.
Yep.
I can't find the little spark, you know?
Yeah.
And that hasn't happened to me in like I don't know if that's ever happened to me in this. And I've certainly had like dips and you have rough patches here and there, but I'm like, oh, I haven't lost the little flame.
The spark, the inspiration flame.
Yeah.
That is the hardest part. And it's but I, as an outsider to your journey at the moment, having gone through similar experiences with dance and theater and auditioning and just having to like grind and put your head down and be in the work, it's so easy to get lost in it. But I guess I like to think of it from an outsider perspective that it actually is a really valuable place to be because it's letting you know that you are on the path. You might not be able to see where you came from and you might not be able to see where you're going, but you are on the path. You are on a path because you are doing the work.
Right.
And even if you take a wrong turn, you're going to learn something there. If you take a wrong turn, but you have forward momentum, you're not sitting down doing nothing.
Right.
But it is maddening, which I completely understand. And it's scary when you do lose the inspiration and the spark for the thing that you love. Is that what you're feeling right now?
Yeah. That's what I'm feeling, is that I'm like, the love that I have had for this. Like, there's never been a doubt in my mind in the whole time I've been doing comedy that I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I love this. And then the last couple months I've been like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But then I had a little moment with myself the other night where I was like really just deep in it again. Like I'm talking like the last like few weeks, it's been like crying multiple times a day, having like a tight chest, having like trouble breathing, like physical manifestations of it just really like low.
Yeah.
Which again, I'm sure partly is due in part to like it's the end of, it's the beginning of March. We're at the end of winter, but I had a moment with myself where I was like, okay, just play out the possibility that like, what if it doesn't work out? What would you do? And I just sat and I like wrote down, I was like, okay, here's what I would do. And that took actually so much pressure off of me to be like, see, like
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. And then as soon as I finished writing that, I was like, but I'm not going to let that happen. Like that pushed me back to be like, is that what you want though? So there's still that cord that's like tying me to this. That's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Is it an umbilical cord? It's the umbilical cord. That's the umbilical cord right there. But it's been pulled real taut and it's getting thin.
Yeah.
And if someone comes along with a pair of scissors,
it's just
it's gonna snap. It's gross.
And you're gonna have a really big knotty belly button.
Gross belly button.
It's gonna be so gross and you'll be so rejected.
Gnarly. I'm gonna
put
castor oil in it.
Has anyone heard about this castor oil thing? We heard about it this weekend, and I still am very confused about it. People are putting castor oil in their belly buttons. It's like a TikTok thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Message
us if you guys know what this is, because it's insane.
It sounds like insane. I have no idea what it is.
Detox thing? We'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
All right. TBD on the castor oil.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have the iPad out just because...
Yeah, we have some nice.
You know me. When I write these questions, I write.
We do questions. We write all of our questions out for our guests beforehand. Drew does such a. I'm gonna say this tactfully. You do such a thorough job that your questions often take up 2 full pages.
This one's 3 pages.
3 pages that I lovingly format into our Canva.
We got it. See, it fits. That's Alex's pretty face.
Gorgeous.
So many questions. But the reason I have the iPad out is because I put a lot of quotes in here because I am a quote girl. You're a quote girl.
We love
quotes.
Love a quote.
And in particular, there is a book, if you don't know it, if you are an artist or a creative, anything in your life that you're pursuing that is creative, if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have to be a comedian or a musical theater person, you need to read the book, The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. It is...
incredible.
Remarkable.
Incredible. And there's 3 in the series, right?
Oh, is there? I need to read the other ones. I haven't read it.
Yeah.
Is it like The War of Finances? And
it's like I forget what the titles are, but they're similar. They're similar styles.
Oh, great.
Yeah. But Steven Pressfield is an author, and he has this whole book about the war of art, of how quite literally how it feels. It's an internal battle often every day, and I think that's where some of my exhaustion is coming from, is being like, this, it feels like this should be easier at this point.
Yep.
Not easy, but easier.
I think that's the misconception.
Yeah.
Is that, and that's how I felt with musical theater. I thought that I was going to get a Broadway show, and then my foot was in the door, and I was going to book Broadway show after Broadway show after Broadway show, and everything was going to be perfect because if you've worked that hard, it should be getting easier. But I noticed that it just simply got harder.
Yeah.
And there's this quote from The War of Art that I love that Steven Pressfield says. He says, "The artist committing himself or herself or themselves to their calling has volunteered for hell, whether they know it or not. They will be dining for the duration on a diet of isolation, rejection, self-doubt, despair, ridicule, contempt, and humiliation." Boom. So that is wildly dark and pessimistic. However,
No, but it's accurate. It's accurate. And Elizabeth Gilbert has a similar quote in Big Magic where she talks about the life of a writer or creative or anyone. You have to enjoy eating shit sandwiches.
yeah,
You
absolutely.
have to enjoy it because that's mostly what this is just eating shit sandwiches. And you got to be hungry for it.
Yeah.
Like,
And when you're not hungry for it, the shit sandwiches are unbearable.
are unbearable.
Yeah.
It's too hard to do if you don't love it.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a little crew in college, and that was one of the things that the coaches said that always stuck with me. She was like, you have to love this because this is too hard to do if you don't love it.
Yeah.
And I've always applied that to stand-up as well, and I've always loved it, so
Ooh.
it's never been a problem. And I still love it, but I'm just having one of those big moments of like, I love it, and acknowledge, like, you did sign up for this.
Yep.
You did sign up for this life. You signed up for being 12 years into this career and not really having the same, not in any way having the same stability that your friends who chose 9-to-5 lifestyles have.
Yep.
Um,
Or your friends who are in the same business as you, and wonderfully so,
yeah.
very happy for them, but have taken off and their
Have
careers have
taken
gotten
off.
elsewhere, and they can buy a
Yeah.
car, they can buy a house, they
Yeah.
have some of the opportunities
Mhm.
that you don't have or that I don't have,
Totally.
and then that's compared to spare.
That's compared to spare, but and it's also so hard to get out of that line of thinking too of like yeah, we've had the same amount of time. Like
Yeah.
it's not like you started 5 or 10 years before I
Yes,
did.
Yes, yes, yes.
We've had the same tools at our disposal. Something clicked with you that is not. That's where I am, where I'm looking around and I'm like, it seems like things are clicking with people that
Mhm.
are not clicking with me, and I'm like, is it just going to take me a little longer for things to click, or is she not clicking? Like, is she not going to click?
I hear you. I think the clicking takes place at different points in time for different people. And I threw this in the questions as well. You've read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho?
Oh yeah,
Oof.
another one.
Another one. We're throwing out all of our like top 10 cliche, most self-help books ever. So
Yeah.
we'll leave a list in the comments if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But The Alchemist I have always loved, and me and every like Midwestern housewife kind of like swear by it. But
It's amazing.
yeah.
It's, for our people who have not read it, without really giving it away, it's about it's the kind of a hero's journey where he has to like leave, and it's a very circular journey.
Yes.
But every step that he takes along the journey is necessary for him to get back to kind of where he
Correct.
started. Yeah.
Well done. Beautiful explanation. But one of the biggest things that I've always taken away from that story, which is a common theme that shows up in a lot of literature, is, of course, it's always darkest before the dawn, is what I think about. And there's that moment, and I'm not going to give it away, but there is a moment, particularly 3/4 to almost towards the very end of the book, where you think that your protagonist is going to quit, they're going to give up, because they have been in a plateau, they have been slogging, they have been faced with self-doubt, they're exhausted, they're tired, the spark isn't there anymore, and they're questioning, and they're saying, why the fuck did I go on this journey? Why am I here? And that is it's the ultimate low moment. And I firmly believe that all you have to do is just take one step forward. And that's when it clicks. That's when it clicks. It's darkest before the dawn.
As I'm kind of slowly climbing out of like the deepest
For sure.
depths of this,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that's been kind of the little glowing light at the end of the tunnel, which I also read somewhere recently that was like, there's no light at the end of the tunnel, you are the light, which was like,
Oh,
okay.
I love that. Okay.
Like, but I feel like every like, it's darkest before the dawn. It's right before right before you think you're gonna give up is when all this stuff happens, or like, I think I just, it's just keep going. But it's just, it feels so hard sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's tricky.
Yeah.
What is your experience when it comes to trusting yourself, your gut, your intuition? That's actually our episode that's coming out. That's coming out this week on the podcast.
Yeah.
Is about learning how to trust yourself, and when do we and when do we not? And in the midst of feeling lost and confused, are you questioning your intuition, or are you feeling grounded and being like, I still know I can go? Like, how are you feeling about trusting yourself in this moment of plateau?
I love it because I've been trying to listen to my intuition, which is like that sort of higher power, voice that's like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're in the hard part. Keep going.
Yeah.
You're going to figure it out. It's a fainter voice than it usually is. But separate from the intuition is like the mental, like that, like go, go, go attitude that I have had for much of my life that is, was developed with athletics and was developed with, like being an alpha and being in comedy and
Oh my
like,
God, you're such a dom
I'm
top.
such a top.
I love it.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. That's, I usually lean back on that voice to figure out like, okay, so what do you need to do? You need to go harder today.
Yeah.
You need to get more shows. You need to write more. You need to exercise more. You need to do more. That's the voice that I am second guessing right now. So when I am feeling extra tired or when I'm feeling like run down, that voice kicks in and goes, but you still have things to do. My like higher self intuition is now like, what would benefit you more at this point? And if this is the system that got you to where you are, and you're saying that the systems don't work anymore, let's try a different system. Let's try a system of rest. See if and which so funny, in the couple times that I've done that, where I've rested, where I've taken a nap, where I've taken a couple nights off of stand-up, the result is my brain feels refreshed. I feel more present. I'm awake. That's the other thing. I'm like, in a creative field, you need to have presence in your life. It's really hard to have when you're in a state of tension and when you're in a state of exhaustion all the time.
Yeah.
There's like a necessary rest component that I have not been giving myself. So I think, and that was also, I did a mushroom trip like a year ago, and that was the biggest message, was like, your next chapter is through a doorway of rest. Like your next, your level up, your next phase that you go into can only be accessed through resting.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, because pulling back a little bit gives you perspective, and it also gives you leverage and energy to then be able to hoist yourself up to the next chapter.
Totally.
That is a really fine line, though. I question myself that all the time. When I didn't book a Broadway show, or I didn't get a job that I wanted, my instinct for many years as well was, no, I didn't get it. I'm going to take double the classes.
Right.
I'm going to take triple the voice lessons. I'm going to like keep adding and do more. But all it did was burn me out.
Totally.
And so that's actually the interesting thing for me, is that now that I've like taken a significant step back from auditioning, I don't have my agents anymore. I've like really started to extract myself from musical theater as of like a year and a half ago. But then oddly enough, we talked about last year, I worked like 4 huge jobs.
Right.
And that was without my agents. That was without auditioning. It's just like, it was interesting that in my moment of like being, I need to create distance and get away from this and create space and rest from this world, was when suddenly opportunities started coming my way, which is so weird. How do you feel about that?
That's exactly why I'm like, just try something new.
Yeah.
Just try resting as opposed to going harder.
Yeah.
And I totally think that's the universe, cosmic energy being like, hey, I see you taking care of yourself, and I see you like,
here's a treat.
Go with the flow kind of thing. Like, don't force it. Like, let the things come to you. Don't chase, attract. Like, that's the energy. Like that, like, I just keep thinking about the physical and mental state of myself for the last decade.
Yeah.
Has been
Tight.
Just tight.
Muscle through it.
Just go harder.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was doing shows a week after my cancer surgery 2 years ago. I was flying to Colorado to do a festival, and my doctors gave me the okay. But I remember after my first show, I was at a bar with a drinking like a maniac,
As you do.
icing my neck scar because it was still hot from surgery.
God.
And it's like, too much. That's too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But I was like, no, but I want to do this, and this is fun for me, and it's
I deserve it.
And I
Yeah.
and I work, and I really did want to go, and I was like, and I deserve this. But it was
Yeah.
in looking back, it's like a week. You gave yourself a week.
And that's it.
Like, you gotta
Oof.
give yourself a little more.
Girl. Yeah.
So, anyways,
That's tricky. What are some of the other things that you are? I know you said you don't quite know what it is yet, but aside from walking through the rest door, what are you thinking or contemplating might be other avenues to kind of unlock another door or get you to the next stage, or what are the other things that you want to switch up and change?
I think diversifying how I make my income is something.
Yeah,
I need
that's
to,
huge.
like,
That's huge.
because part of the burnout of stand up is just constant performance. And I would love to be writing more. I
Yeah.
would love to be writing more. So I'm like, okay, so start a Substack. So I started a draft of like,
Yep.
here's going to be your little monthly newsletter. that
God,
you're
I
gonna
opened a
start.
Substack last week too.
Yeah. I mean, we're all opening Substacks. We're all doing it.
Podcast. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone has a Substack.
But even this, investing more time in this, investing
Yeah.
more time,
Mhm.
diversifying it so that, because I think, and every creativity book says this too, but putting the weight of your income on the thing that you love
Mhm.
can be really tough.
Ooh. Yep.
And I think especially this far in, I'm like, yeah, well, it should be my income, and it is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but what would it look like if I could say no to more shows? What would that look like?
Well, it's also, as someone who's not in the comedy world, I find it it is so shocking to me how little you get paid.
It's crazy.
Especially working at the top club in the city and or the country. We're not going to name names. They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
great,
Like,
and I love
but
them,
it's
yeah.
just still shocking to me that I'm like, even you can get to the top of your game in that capacity,
Yeah.
and you're still getting paid pennies.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me.
No, pay in comedy has not gone up since like the 80s. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. So I think that's the other thing where it's like, okay, like, I love it. I would love to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But also just truly the cost of living is like
Yeah.
so much that it's like, oh, I can't sustain this. So
Eggs. It's because the eggs.
$10.
Yeah.
What are we doing, folks?
The eggs. Oh
Two
my
genders.
gosh. Did you see that article that Donald Trump was like, stop talking to me about the damn eggs?
Hilarious. We will never stop talking about the damn eggs.
We'll never stop talking about
We'll
the
never
damn
stop
eggs.
talking about the eggs.
Do we have to wrap up already?
We have to wrap up.
Fucking fuck.
I
Okay,
know.
cool. Before we do wrap though, I really liked the last question that I threw on there.
I loved it. Say it again.
So I would like for you to answer that for us. It's a 3-parter, and you can make it as little or as long as you want to. Okay, so here's the question. I said, can you do me a favor and tell study abroad Alex from 18 years ago where she is right now and what she's doing? Then I said, can you tell first improv class Alex something you've accomplished in the last year that you never would have believed? And finally, can you imagine yourself 10 years from now? What is future Alex saying to you right in this moment? So let's start with
Okay.
Alex from 18 years ago, study abroad.
I think 18 years ago, study abroad and first improv class would.
Like when you
I
first
would-
started comedy.
Yeah, I think I would give them a similar answer.
Okay, let's
Very similar
let's-
answer, which
hear.
is, you made it to New York City.
Yeah.
You have a beautiful apartment that you love.
Yeah.
That's affordable. You have an incredible group of friends that you have made here and that you've also brought with you from different parts of your life.
Yeah.
You're a regular at the Comedy Cellar. You were just named a Time Out New York comic to watch.
Everyone, Alex was just named one of the top 10 comics to watch in America by Time Out magazine.
Thank you,
Time
Time
Out
Out.
magazine. Thank you. And not just New York, not just Chicago, America.
I know, that was a fun. They were like, "Here's the national article." I was like, "A national."
If you look on the article, Alex is listed as
Um,
number 1.
I
So,
mean, not a big deal.
huge. It's so
I know,
cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's very cool. You do voiceover work. You run a podcast with Drew. You have a vibrant life that you have created and made for yourself in New York City, which is what you have always wanted.
mhm.
And keep it
Yes.
Keep it up.
And what do you think future Alex, 10, 15 years from like now, would want to say to you in this very moment right now?
In this very moment, I think future Alex would say, "You're so close.
Yeah.
You're so close." And it's not. You're not close to like the next step, because I don't believe in a like
Rival. Like you're done.
rival.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's always going to be more to do and see and experience, and it's still going to be hard. But that little piece that you think is missing is not missing. But you're so close to figuring out how to just pivot a little bit to do this the way you want to do this.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
That's a great question.
That's a beautiful way
Really
to
good
end.
we should. That's a great way to end, and that's going to be one of our questions that we put on our social media for you guys to answer.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm
Amazing.
proud of you. I know you feel stuck and confused and scared and lost right now. But as a friend who has known you for a very long time, I'm wildly proud of you.
Thank you so much, man.
And I think you're crushing it.
Thank
So,
you. I think you're crushing it.
yeah, I know. So just like breathe through it and,
Yeah.
and push on.
I shall.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for listening. We love you all. Please go ahead and follow and like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Comment, write us reviews, do anything
Email
and everything. It
us
all
if you
helps
have
us.
anything.
Email us.
Yeah. Info
Yeah.
at themudpodcast.com.
All right. We love you all. Thanks for being so loyal.
Bye.
Bye.